So I'm Rob Johnson with the Rare Species Fund, and I'm here with James Moody in Malamala in South Africa. This video is partially for my Apex Predators class at Coastal Carolina University, and James is a pretty big expert on hyenas, and hyenas are very often misunderstood creatures, and hopefully James is going to shed a little bit of light on that situation. We're sitting out here right now. We've got our vehicle over here next to us, and there are two hyenas. These are wild hyenas just hanging out with us.
You see the curiosity that they have. Just being able to come out of the den site, so it's around about 7 months old now. Starting to discover the world. They haven't yet left the den properly, so for the time being, these guys are going to be around the den, in and around the immediate area, until maybe about 15 months or so, when they'll actually start running around with the rest of the clan, out hunting. But for the time being, this is all new. Although these cubs are particularly used to vehicles now, because we have been viewing them for several months, at least 6 to 7 months now, they are somewhat used to us, which is why they're able to allow us to come this close to them. However, you can never really trust them too much. Just the other day, Rob discovered quite well how powerful their bite can be. Almost went straight through his jersey. Yeah, so basically the rest of the clan at the moment is out. This will be a sort of a central meeting point for the actual hyenas themselves, the actual territory. During the evening, hyenas will be filtering in and out the den site itself, and then after that, they'll go out in their territorial runs, their territorial patrols, moving about, doing what they need to do, just making sure that no other rival clans are coming into the area and trying to take over. Something that these guys are going to learn a little bit later on. So these guys here, for the time being, are left by themselves. If you see on the video a little bit later on, just at the bottom over here, there's a beautiful little spot where these guys actually hang out, sleep throughout the day, very well protected. This kind of a den site over here is ideal for them because it's got a nice rocky overhang where the hyenas themselves can actually go inside of any larger predators, lions, leopards, wild dogs, etc., approach the area. But often you'll find that they'll use disused termite mounds which have got aardvark holes and antbear holes dug out inside them. They'll actually make it bigger, excavate them. Not as safe, so often hyena clans will tend to move the territories, move into different areas depending on how safe and accessible the den site really is. You see these guys over here, although it's much more comfortable down in the soft sand at the bottom, they still don't want to leave our side because they don't want to miss out on absolutely anything at all. So what I'm going to try and do, maybe sneak around and go to the other side. Not today, not as curious as they usually are. I think it's also because during the day they feel a little bit more exposed as opposed to at nighttime when they have the confidence of being a nocturnal predator. They use the term predator as well, considering these animals are misunderstood in terms of people often think they mangy scavengers who will only wait for the bottom feeding when all the other predators have actually finished. Depending on which area in Africa you actually go to, you'll possibly find, for example, in the Kruger National Park, Malamala Game Reserve, Sabi Sands, anywhere in this particular area as well. What will happen is these guys will hunt a lot more, hunt a lot less, as opposed to hunt as areas like the Serengeti and the Tanzania. Hello little guy, you're getting a bit curious. Yeah, so these guys here with the apex predators being the lions, these guys tend to hunt a lot less as opposed to anywhere else. For example, the Okavango Delta in Botswana is far greater success rate in terms of hunting, considering the fact that they actually use the swamps a lot more. There have been recent studies that have shown these animals are almost as intelligent as our great apes. They're in the same intelligence level in terms of problem solving, adapting and adaptations to hunts and to surviving in different areas and different terrain. The research that I did in Botswana showed that the hyenas there would actually use the swamps a lot more, chasing the animals into the thickets so that they would in actual fact swamp the animal down. These guys love swimming, they love being in and around water, so to them it's just another day in the pool most of the days when it's hot like it was today. But today it was around about 107 degrees. You'll find most of the hyena clan will be split up in different areas throughout the entire territory. Most of the time sleeping in mud baths, thick reeds with a lot of swamps and a lot of pans, just cooling their bodies down during the heat of the day. So that's another utilization that they have. And of course, here they scavenge a lot more as opposed to the hunting in the Okavango Delta and the Tanzania as well.
One of the things that I know we've talked about while we've been out here with these animals is that probably the biggest misconception these animals have has come from Disney's movie The Lion King, of just how noble lions are supposed to be in the movie and how devious hyenas are, but that's obviously that's Disney. That's not the case in real life. So. What's your take on that?
I don't allow anybody to mention the word Lion King on my vehicle. These animals here, they are always portrayed because of that movie, and it's not only Disney as well. A lot of documentaries back in the day, 20 years ago, when documentaries with Africa was starting to become quite popular, it actually turns out that those were the documentaries bad-mouthing hyenas when the lions made a kill, and then the hyenas started fighting and chasing off Simba, and all those lions and all that sort of thing. Now, of course, hyenas aren't exactly the prettiest looking creatures when they're older, but lions are always regarded as the most majestic and the biggest and the most powerful of all the apex predators. If you have a look at these little guys over here, these guys are quite fluffy and small. Soon they're going to grow up, they're going to lose a lot of their hair, they're going to start looking a little bit more scraggly after a couple more fights with other clan members, fighting other predators.
Less attractive in the traditional sense.
In the traditional sense, yeah. Like right now, they're just cute. That's what, and you can see those eyes. Cute as a button. That's not a trademark James saying, but yeah. So I mean, these guys over here, they actually one of the most important things to realize is that they do hunt actually a lot more than they scavenge. Of course, any predator, be it lions, leopards, cheetahs, wild dog, hyenas, if they come across a carcass, they will always assess the situation, tell whether or not they're able to actually hunt down the animal, to chase the animals off that have made the kill. If not, then they will try and rally up as many clan members as possible to come and take over if they are that desperate for food. Collectively around Africa, these guys have got a success rate of between 60 and 70% in their hunting. Whereas they actually hunt in this area in particular probably around about 40 to 50% of their food, as opposed to the typical scavenging reputation that a lot of the media has given them. So they are very, very successful predators, very successful hunters. When they hunt in groups hunting parties of between 3 and 6, which does not happen very often, but they do on occasion do hunt in packs of 3 or more. Their success rate can jump anything up to about, like I said, 60 to 70%, which is far greater than any of your lions or your leopards, which traditionally...
Almost as much as the wild dogs?
Almost as much as the wild dogs, which is around about 88% successful in all of their hunts and their kills. Got to remember that a hunt, these guys are cursorial hunters, which is typically your stamina hunters. The longest recorded hunt for a hyena has been in the Serengeti. It was over the space of about 15 miles, where a single hyena chased down a blue wildebeest. Chased the animal for such a long time, they got such a high amount of stamina that eventually the wildebeest, completely just broke down. It fell over, and that was it. And the hyena started just tearing into it as it was still in shock. That is typically how they hunt their animals down. They create confusion. In terrain like this, you'll see there's a lot of bush, a lot of drainage lines, a lot of rocky areas. So when several of the hyenas run in, they're going to confuse the prey species. Generally, it's using an example here, impala, which is your most common prey, your most common antelope here, scatter into different areas, and hyenas will run in all different places trying to chase as many different ones as possible, creating a whole bunch of sort of what you call organized chaos, confusion. Eventually, one of them will make the kill. When they do that, the feeding activity, the sound, of which they have an extremely good sound, extremely good hearing, they'll be able to hear it from wherever they are hunting, go and join in with the kill, and then that'll be them all ready for, all nice and fed for the evening. In terms of the den site like this, they are very, very good parents. Another misconception that they're actually not really that good at parenting. If it's in the immediate area here, you'll notice how the animal's body is built. front legs a lot higher, shoulders a lot higher and bigger than the back legs, which are basically just to keep its balance. These animals can carry large carcasses or large bones, for example, from giraffes, buffalo, elephant, rhino. They can carry them over extreme distances to get that meat back to the den site for the cubs, where they will actually feed. But also, if you look at the jaw muscles, you've got a solid muscle which joins up right at the top of the skull over here. The shoulders are extremely powerful, and that is to rip and tear apart any of the larger bones from the actual animals themselves, from the prey species themselves. They're perfectly adapted to do what they do. They've got arguably one of the strongest jaw structures of any terrestrial mammal on the planet. Again, the reason for them being so strong, the jaws, the teeth, the bones of these animals, is because their milk is the richest of any terrestrial mammal on the planet as well. So they weaned off a lot later, in time up to 4 months or so, and their gestation period is 116 days, which means they have a far greater time than any of the big cats. Well, at least a week or so, 2 weeks or 2 weeks more than any of the big cats, in order to actually develop the animal more before it's born. It's born with its eyes fully capable eyes. You can see where it's going, fully erupted teeth. The hierarchy dictates exactly what's going to happen with the litter of generally 2 hyenas are born into a litter. These guys are going to basically, when hyenas are born into a litter and there's 2 cubs, if there's a female born within that, a female and a male born within that litter, basically the hierarchy is it's a matriarchal society. So you're going to find that the female will immediately be dominant over the male. So there's going to be no issues there. If it's 2 males, then they may tussle a little bit, but there's not actually going to be generally too much of a fight there as well. If there are 2 females, however, born into a litter of cubs, it's going to be slightly different, because now both of those females are going to fight for hierarchy. They're going to fight for dominance. Once that happens, then of course you're going to have a bit of a problem, and generally one of the females will actually be killed by the normally the one that's born first has a little bit more time to readjust itself, and eventually it's just an immediate response, instinctual really, that they know that that's going to happen. Unfortunately, that is one thing I can agree with the Lion King. Say that the mother will actually allow that to happen, which is quite sad. Yeah.
Well, and since this is going to be used for educational purposes, we probably want to stress that if anybody actually comes to Africa, don't be dumb enough to do what we're doing. Getting out and sitting out with wild hyenas, it's probably not.
Yeah, we've got 2 experts anyway, so.
Yeah, exactly.